Welcome back, patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, your one-stop shop for your gaming news. If you were listening to this in audio form, we do this on Patreon. If you listen to this on the free feeds in audio form, we do this on Patreon Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. It also goes to the free feeds on Tuesday mornings. There's a video version of this that's exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to see that, then you need to sign up for the Patreon. Of course, this is the week in gaming, cover topics in gaming. Seems to be there's a bit to to get to today, so let's just go ahead and dive on in. The first thing I want to start with before we go deeper into everything, because there's a lot of shit that's happened over the past few days. It's crazy to even report on this stuff, considering where we were in reporting on certain news by a certain company just 2 weeks ago. But we have to cover the news over here. I want to start really quickly with this situation. EA is going to add real life ads to their games. Electronic Arts introduces EA advertising, launching brands directly into gameplay and live experiences. This is very, very interesting. Oh boy, that is very small print. We're not going to do that. We're going to read their press release. Let's see what it says. Um, Electronic Arts introduces EA advertising, launching brands directly into gameplay, and live experiences, connecting brands to highly engaged audiences through an exclusive EA Sports Partner Program, in-game integrations, creative partnerships, and scalable advertising capabilities across EA's global portfolio. Remember, they were acquired by the Saudis. Um, anyway, Electronic Arts Incorporated, the global leader in interactive entertainment, today announced the launch of EA Advertising, a new platform transforming how brands connect with audiences through digital and real world experiences across the global portfolio of games. EA sits at the intersection of entertainment and sports, technology, music, and culture across console, mobile, and PC. Our games and services reach more than 120 million players each month during fiscal year 2026. Together, this scale and frequency of engagement create meaningful opportunities for brands to connect with audience through authentic, interactive experiences. EA Sports is one of the largest interactive sports platforms in the world. It is the biggest. Like 2K Sports, they've got golf, they have NBA 2K, but Madden. So Madden and NBA 2K are all generally two of the highest purchased games each year, right? And Grand Theft Auto 5 is still up there as well. But with the advent of college football coming back, those numbers are greatly climbing, in my opinion, anyways. I'm sorry, where was that? Fans engage with EA Sports at extraordinary scale, playing the equivalent of 23,000 NFL seasons every day in Madden NFL and competing more than 1 billion matches in EA Sports FC. I forgot about that. They have that. And soccer is the biggest sport in the world, evident to everybody going crazy right now because of the World Cup. Through a portfolio spanning globally licensed franchises, EA Sports gives brands access to highly engaged sports audiences at scales. EA builds spaces where players play, watch, and connect with one another, creating participatory experiences where brands come to play alongside them. EA Advertising is expanding EA's ecosystem by enabling brands to integrate directly into gameplay through dynamic real-time placements, from stadium signage to custom in-game content designed to enhance, not disrupt, the player experience. In these interactive gameplay environments, brands become part of the game itself, reflecting how players engage with advertising in real world context. Brands can activate across live environments, tailoring placements to meet campaign objectives and update campaigns with ongoing optimization informed by aggregated engagement insights. I'm sorry. In Madden, in the stadiums and college football, you see like the signage on the scoreboards and stuff like that, but it's not the actual signage. Like, now, if there's a corporate sponsor that has their name on the building, that's in the game. Like, if you play as the 49ers, you will see the Levi logo and it'll say Levi Stadium. Oddly enough, Levi Stadium is hosting World Cup games and they had to actually cover up their logo because they're not a sponsor. I'm not even kidding. On the scoreboard, they have the Levi logo covered up, and on outside of the stadium, it's also covered there as well. But now what this means is you're going to get the real world signage in these games if these, particular businesses choose to participate. Um, a thing like, you think about the NHL where and also the NBA, where they now have jersey sponsors. I think Major League Baseball might have them too at this point. They have jersey sponsors in these leagues now. The Carolina Panthers won the Stanley Cup. They played the Lenovo Center. The Lenovo word mark is on their helmets. Like a couple of years ago, milk, as in got milk, was the jersey sponsor for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it had like the little milk signature. So it's very interesting that they're doing this now. Players come to EA's games and live experiences every day to play, watch, trade, and connect. Said David Tinson, Experiences Officer at Electronic Arts. That gives brands a meaningful opportunity to show up in ways that add value and respect the player experience while maintaining authenticity and worlds our teams are building. With EA advertising, we're helping brands become part of those moments in ways that are relevant and built for players. As part of Launch EA, advertising is introducing new ways for brands to reach audiences and measure performance across its ecosystem. Brand partnerships and gameplay integrations. EA advertising partners directly with brands and agencies to create custom integrations designed for specific games and audiences. These collaborations bring brands into the experience through interactive moments like in-game challenges, reward-driven objectives, and branded content. Brands can also opt into customization like curated vanity items. Each integration is designed to reflect how fans engage with sports, games, and cultures, helping drive deeper engagement and brand connection. Ad units in 3D sports simulations. Advertisers can now reach fans through native and ad units in select EA Sports games, including digital ad boards, scoreboards, brand broadcast overlays. Ads are dynamically served with a 3D environment, with impression measurement aligned to IAB standards for greater targeting and consistency. In 2K, you already see Gatorade bottles in because they've got Gatorade sponsorship, the NBA store, Foot Locker, et cetera, et cetera. It's only going to get bigger. You see Adidas and Nike kits and Puma and EAFC, CCM, Sherwood Hockey, et cetera, and EA Sports NHL. Oakley visors in college football and Madden. Hopefully they'll get the Nike visors in there. They have all the Nike shoes. Like it's just going to get bigger and bigger. I'm not surprised that this is happening at all because we already started to see it in the last generation and actually before the 360 generation, the H360 PS3 generation, the first HD generation of gaming, when it's like this looks really real. And it's like these shoes just can't be generic shoes anymore. We got to have Air Jordans. We got to have Nike. We got to have Reebok, Adidas, et cetera, et cetera. Um, EA NHL again during that era. Hey, we got to get this right. We got to get this right. We got to get these NFL jerseys to look, correct. We got to get the Riddell helmets. All this stuff. This is only built and built and built to here. There was a time if your Xbox 360 was connected online or your PlayStation 3. I play MLB The Show on PlayStation 3. On Xbox 360, this is when it was exclusive to PlayStation. And the 360 came to market a year before the PlayStation 3. So they had the 2K baseball game. And if your 360 was connected to the internet to Xbox Live, those boards that are behind home plate that now they just use a green screen and they put digital ads over 'em when you watch a game, on television. But in the field, if you're actually there, those boards rotate. You would see, I remember the first time I saw like a Butterfinger ad there. I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? They're doing advertising in games. That was the first time I remember seeing, or like I remember when Domino's had like the Noid guy, or 7-Up had the cool spot guy with the sunglasses, and he had a video game on Sega Genesis, and I think it was on Super Nintendo as well. Advertising has come a long way in video games. I'm not at all surprised by this. It was only a matter of time before this happened. So we shall see how this looks. And I will believe that we'll probably see this first in EA College Football or Madden because those are the next two games that are coming from EA. So in other news, this comes from our friends over at Digital Foundry. This is very, very interesting. And I would imagine this is going to give us an idea of what is going to happen with the next generation of consoles and gaming. Um, so SanDisk announces a $3,000 PlayStation 5 SSD as component pricing surge continues. This is ridiculous. So SanDisk's latest lineup of PS5 SSDs shows the true extent of the flash memory price crisis, with the top end 8 terabyte model retailing for a cool $2,960 plus tax. Now, I didn't read too much into this when I saw this. I was like, let me add this to the show notes. That's 8 terabytes. So remember, you're not going in for a 2 terabyte and paying that price. However, when you're talking about the SSDs that come on board with the console, then we're starting to have these conversations again, the price because of the RAM shortage. So amazingly, this price is after a 20% discount from its original MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price, which is $3,699. For context, last year, Eurogamer covered a deal on a similarly capable 8 terabyte SSD that cost just $599. The Optimus GX Pro 850 lineup includes smaller 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, and 4 terabyte models with prices that are nearly as eye-watering at $380 for the 1 terabyte, 760 for the 2 terabyte, and 1500 for the 4 terabyte size. If you don't need the PS5 branding and heatsink, the 850X costs just $2,650, a $310 reduction that absolutely dwarfs the $10 cost of the third party heatsink. As a reminder, these aren't even bleeding edge PCI 5.0 drives. They're PCIe 4.0 models that sit at the same rated speeds as models from years ago. Sure, these are performant drives that for their category. The official PS5 licensed heatsink looks sharp, but it's hard to see anyone in the world rushing out to buy one of these while SSD prices remain as high as they are. If the prices do come back down, these will at least make for some amusing discounts on the future. That $36.99 MSRP would mean a drop to $599 price would amount to an 84% discount. It's a sad state of affairs where we are in gaming. This should not be happening. Not even a little bit, not even a lot. This should not be a thing. Um, every time you use ChatGPT, Core AI, Zora, which I think that's done, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, you want to make stupid little animated videos of the Scooby Doo gang cheating on each other and this, that, and the third. You're fucking up the environment with that, and you're bleeding all of our pockets. And when they look around like, why is gaming so expensive? It's you idiots that are doing this. You're the fucking problem. You're the problem. It's not anybody else. It's not your little sister. I'm going to sit here and say the tariffs don't, they have a little to do with it. A little. The bulk of the problem is you getting on Chat GPT to write you a verse for a song because you don't really have any musical talent. That kid that was on Chance the Rapper's album last year used Chat GPT to write his verse. Don't think I forgot. So this is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Um, Nobody should be paying this much for a fucking SSD for their PlayStation 5. This is absolutely fucking just ridiculous that I even have to come on here and have this fucking conversation. But y'all won't stop. And that's the fucking problem. Stop using ChatGPT. Stop using Google Gemini. Stop using Microsoft Copilot. Stop using Core AI. Stop with that shit. You're going to kill the fucking environment. You're also going to be dumb by proxy because you're too fucking lazy to get up and open a book to look something up. You fucking morons. It just drives me crazy. So you're the problem. I know, the next PlayStation 6 is going to be $1,000 at launch. It's your fucking fault because you can't open a book. You'd rather AI do the work for you. So all they're doing is taking all the RAM to build these fucking data centers, soaking water out of the lakes, the oceans, the ponds to cool these fucking things down because you desperately wanted to see Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble argue over who got Betty pregnant. That's a real fucking video that's floating around on social media right now. Barney finds out that the baby isn't his because Betty fucked Fred. That's a fucking problem. That is a fucking problem. So I don't know. I don't want to hear y'all bitching and moaning about the cost of the next generation of PlayStation console. Guess who's gonna have it day one? This fucking guy. You can't afford one? Oh, too bad, so fucking sad. You shouldn't have used fucking Chat GPT. Your own fault, not mine. I have a job, buddy. I also get paid to do this. I make independent films. I will always get by. At the end of the day, I'm always going to bet on myself. You guys are fucked, not me. I'm gonna be okay. You're fucked, not me. Anyway, so apparently the PlayStation 5 DualSense is getting some upgrades on PC. Apparently, major upgrades. This comes from GamingBog.gg. DualSense X has added full native virtual DualSense support, finally bringing advanced PlayStation controller features over Bluetooth. Adaptive triggers over Bluetooth, advanced haptics wirelessly, wireless audio haptics at the same time, native virtual DualSense support, improved compatibility with DualSense supported games. Awesome. Various fixes and quality of life improvements. One of the biggest limitations of the DualSense on PC has finally been addressed. So I sometimes use a DualSense when I play games on my PSC, my PC, PSC. The fuck am I talking about? Um, Guys everywhere. Just not right now. They know I'm recording. I don't know why the fuck everybody's texting me. Anyway, yeah, sometimes I use a DualSense. Sometimes I use an Xbox One or Xbox Series X. It's essentially the same fucking controller. Whatever one's closest to me, I use it on my PC. Now that they're adding DualSense support, probably gonna use a DualSense. Not gonna lie. For games that support DualSense, throw that out there. Just for any old fucking game, then I'll just use a fucking Xbox controller. But if it supports DualSense, like why the fuck wouldn't I? It's probably the greatest fucking controller ever. Like as of right now, to date, the DualSense is as revolutionary as the Nintendo 64 controller because it was the first controller to add an analog stick. Great. Anyways, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Coming off the heels of E3, aka Summer Games Season, this comes from our friends over at Video Games Chronicle. Nintendo Direct was the most watched summer game presentation, analytic firm claims. Nintendo Showcase reportedly had a higher peak viewer count than the main Summer Game Fest show itself, which is interesting because I think it was 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, my time. I was at work. We had to cover that once I got off. We didn't see it at its peak time. So I know a lot of people probably pulled out their phones at their desk or something like that. I could have done that, but I also didn't want to spoil the surprise. So it is what it is. Anyway, last week's Nintendo Direct presentation was the most watched Summer Game Fest showcase this year, according to analytics firm Level Up, which specifically focuses on analytics design for video game marketing firms, says that according to its information, Nintendo's presentation had a higher peak number of viewers than any other between June 1st through 11th. Its data found the Nintendo Direct reached a peak of 3.8 million viewers at one point, slightly higher than the peak of 3.7 million achieved by the main Summer Game Fest presentation. It also claims that the PlayStation State of Play hit a peak of 2.9 million, while the Xbox Game Showcase reached 2.2, with its following Gears of War E-Day Direct dropping down to 808,000. This is very interesting because I know a lot of people have come on and said that PlayStation had one of the worst shows. I There was a lot of great third party stuff. We still don't know what the fuck is going on with PlayStation first party studios. Okay, so we saw Fire Sprite is doing Until Dawn 2, which looked really good. Sony Santa Monica, God of War Lefay, which I'm very excited to play. I still don't understand the fucking gelatinous cube, but neither here nor there. We also saw Wolverine. So they come in third, Nintendo comes in first, and Xbox falls to the back. Well, if you ask a lot of people, they will say that Xbox had the best showcase. Now, we're going to get to them in just a minute, but a lot of people feel like Xbox actually absolutely had the best showcase shown. Some people say Summer Game Fest was second. What I believe happened, Nate the Hate, obviously infamous leaker, he was right. We got the Star Fox information. We had a Star Fox Direct sometime in May. That's coming next week, if I'm not mistaken. It's next week, if I'm not mistaken. So we're like, oh shit. So we see Star Fox. At this point, everybody is really. If you're, I'm not. I tuned in because this is what I do. Obviously, I have to cover this stuff. This is part of what I do. As a Nintendo fan and a Legend of Zelda fan, even if I didn't do this, there was no way I was going to miss that, knowing that there was an inkling that we would see the Ocarina of Time remake. Now, I've been saying for years, if Nintendo wanted to print free money, all they had to do was give us an Ocarina of Time remake. And there was a point where I was like, you can do it in the Breath of the Wild engine for all I care. We don't know what the engine is. All we saw was it looked like Unreal Engine 5, Link sleeping in his bed in his hut in the Kokiri forest, and then that's it. And we saw this tapestry. that had the Great Deku Tree and stuff like that. We don't know what else we're going to see. The game is still supposed to come this year. It said 2026. I'm guessing November. I don't think Nintendo was afraid of Grand Theft Auto 6. They still realize that they're Nintendo, and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of the greatest video games of all time. So the story goes on to say the firm also claims that when all video and social media platforms are taken into account, the trailer for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake was viewed more than any other with an estimated 115 million views between June 1st through excuse me, through June 11th. See what I'm saying? Um, its second place was God of War: LaFay, which received 90.5 million views, followed by Resident Evil Veronica's 70.9 million. It should also be noted that those trailers were posted on June 2nd and June 6th, respectively, while the Ocarina of Time trailer was posted on June 9th. While Nintendo's game may have received the most views, it was God of War: LaFay that reportedly sparked the most conversation. Level Up figures claim it had the most engagement of any title at Summer Game Fest, with 5.5 million counts across press and retailer social media pages, well ahead of the second place Marvel Wolverine with 1.5 million counts. In terms of overall performance, then, which Level Up says is based on trailer performance, press coverage, and community engagement, then merged into a single comparative index, God of War: LaFay was the most prolific game during the Summer Game Fest, followed by The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Resident Evil Veronica. So, the games I'm most anticipating are those games. God of War: LaFay, Ocarina of Time remake, Resident Evil Veronica, but also Wolverine, and also Final Fantasy VII Revelation. But we knew that was coming. We didn't know it was going to show up. In our prediction show, actually had uh Final Fantasy VII Revelation. I'm like, that's going to show up either at the PlayStation show or Summer Game Fest, and I hit on the Summer Game Fest pick. Um, I'm surprised that Gears of War E Day isn't there because that looked fucking phenomenal. To find out that their viewer count dropped to 800,000 concurrent viewers for the Gears of War E Day show is very surprising because everybody I talked to that watched it, everybody I had a conversation with, we all said this looks fucking amazing. We're so happy. It looks like they're taking Gears to the next level. And then to find out that that happened, it's like, what the fuck? There's no way I thought that those would be the numbers. I just didn't. I just didn't. In other news, so let's go ahead and move on down. We're gonna start talking about Team Green now, aka Xbox. So this was the first thing I saw. This comes from Charlie Intel on Twitter. No, I'm not calling it X. I don't give a fuck. It says Xbox is reportedly working on adding a buy now, pay later option to the Xbox store. I'm pretty certain this is the Klarna logo. Is that what it is? Let's see. We're going to do a quick Google to make sure this is Klarna's logo because it's included in the tweet. Wouldn't you know it? It sure in the fuck is. So you're going to be able to buy games on Klarna through the Xbox store and pay for them later. Um, this is just going to start a long, long, slippery slope. I'm not saying it's over, but you can almost see the exit. You can almost see the exit. I don't know where on God's green earth they thought this was a good idea. And also, let me tell you something about letting people buy now and pay later. There's a subset of people who are like, you're not getting this money. So unless they have some plan to pull the game from your hard drive or block the license if they don't get a certain number of payments, this ain't gonna work for you guys. This is not gonna work. So when I saw this, I was like, this is just Xbox doing crazy Xbox shit again. Thought nothing of it. And then I see the next story. The head of Xbox Game Studios stepped down as well. This also comes from the Charlie Intel Twitter account. Head of Xbox Game Studio Craig Duncan has stepped down, and somebody else left with him. Everyone's saying this is bad. Couldn't have named him yesterday. Gun to head. Resume Connect Sports and Generational Fumble Sea of Thieves, what was supposed to be a tentpole Xbox IP, now a shithole. Jump ship to backfill current role with nothing to show for 2 years. Someone says, I love how people are using this as more evidence of Xbox dying. You didn't even know this guy existed until 10 minutes ago. Someone that is easily replaced. Um, Guys, I would love to say it's just somebody who's moving on to a different job, but that's not the case because things got worse. So nobody wanted to believe me, and it just kept getting worse. So, um, the game business has this story. Xbox studio boss Craig Duncan steps down. Chief of Staff Louise O'Connor also departs. They have both been at Rare for quite some time. Duncan has stepped down after more than 18 months in the role. Duncan replaced former studio boss Alan Hartman in November of 2024 and oversaw Halo Studios, The Coalition, Flight Sim, Turn 10, Playground Games, Rare, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Compulsion Games. Remember these names: Ninja Theory, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, The Initiative, In Exile, Undead Labs, World's Edge, and XGS Publishing. He departs the organization this week. His studios will report to Xbox Chief Content Officer Matt Booty until a replacement is found. Duncan has been a part of the Xbox organization since 2011, is best known for running highly regarded UK developer Rare for nearly 14 years. He oversaw the developers Connect and Sea of Thieves airs. Prior to that, he held various senior roles at Codemasters, Midway, and Sumo Digital. Like, you guys didn't know who he was till yesterday. This is quite the fucking resume. Just saying. Worked across titles such as Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing, Willman, Colin McRae. He's also the VP of the charity Special Effects. Meanwhile, Xbox Game Studio Chief of Staff Louise O'Connor will also be leaving the company. O'Connor joined Rare in 1999, beginning as an animator on the cult favorite N64 game Conker's Bad Fur Day. She's worked in numerous art and production roles at the UK studio, even won an AIAS award for voicing the character Lethos in Viva Pinata. She left Rare following the cancellation of Everwild in 2025 before becoming chief of staff in September that year. People forget Everwild was canceled. In an email sent to staff, Duncan wrote, quote, when I stepped into the role of leading Xbox Game Studios 20 months ago, my purpose was to serve our studios, our teams, and the people making our games. Together, we set out to deliver high quality games, strengthen the cultural fabric across our studios, and help shape the future of the business. I'm proud to say we delivered many flawless launches that drove business success for the company. On O'Connor, he added, quote, Louise has been a thoughtful, creative, and trusted partner who has consistently championed the craft and supported our studios with clarity and care. I'm grateful for everything she's brought to Xbox Game Studios, and I'm sure she'll be successful in whatever comes for her next. So here's the thing. The head of your gaming studios stepping down is not a good thing. If they're moving on, they're moving on. I get that. People do get other jobs. Half the world knows what's going on with people's jobs because they follow them on LinkedIn and shit like that. Cool. This is bigger than that. And I need you idiots to understand this. The reason it is bigger than that is because we all thought that Xbox was finally going to figure things out. And then all of this happened. So hours after this took place, the first shot was fired. This comes from Kotaku. This was skeptical. It was definitely skeptical, but now it's been proven. Xbox is planning to shutter Peabody Award-winning South of Midnight studio Compulsion Games. The studio leadership is currently in negotiations with Microsoft. Those negotiations to spin themselves off or go independent, or they're going to be closed down. Xbox is planning to shut down Compulsion Games, developer of Peabody Award-winning South of Midnight, and We Happy Few, Kotaku was learned. It is unclear how many individuals total will be impacted. The studio's LinkedIn page says around 90 individuals work there. Though Kotaku understands the actual total to be higher, multiple individuals have now posted on social media looking for work. Just 2 months ago, the studio's talent lead was posting job listings on LinkedIn for the studio, advertising work on a fascinating, intriguing, and brand new IP. According to one source of the studio, this is updated after the original story broke. Compulsion leadership is in negotiations with Microsoft over the studio's fate, but the details of these negotiations have not been disclosed. The original story goes as this comes just days after Xbox CEO Asha Sharma and Microsoft Game Studio head Matt Booty published an open email to the company revealing Xbox's recent financial and logistical struggles. Pay attention. This is the important part here for you people who think it's no big deal that the head of Xbox Game Studios and the person that was directly under him moved along. Uh, Amid reports that mass layoffs were expected to begin in the coming weeks, and just earlier today, the game business reported that head of Xbox Studio, Craig Duncan, had resigned after less than 2 years in the role. Sharma had praised Compulsion just earlier this year, quote, the big things that we're thinking about or we want to make great games, she told GameFile in April. And so, Chief Content Officer Matt Booty can talk about that. The Peabody Award for South of Midnight, Kiln coming out today. Nobody played Kiln. You making a video game that's a multiplayer video game about using an actual kiln. That's right. You're making pottery in the fucking game. These kids that are playing Fortnite and Minecraft and Call of Duty and 2K and Roblox, do you think they want to make pottery? No. When I saw that game, I can't remember when they showed it. I was like, who greenlit this? That would have not got past the conceptual phase with me. They'd be like, I'm like, so what do you do? Well, you make pottery. No, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here and come back with something else. I get it. There should be games for everybody, especially people who enjoy pottery. However, we've all seen Ghost, the scene where they're making pottery and it's all sensual. That's cool. That was like 30 some odd fucking years ago. Nobody wants to do that. That's not a video game. That's not a fucking video game. Who thought that it was a good idea to greenlit that fucking game? Anyway, I digress. Story continues. Um, uh, I lost my spot. I'm just Kiln coming out today. Like I just feel like every day there's something wonderful there. Booty, meanwhile, had pointed to Compulsion as an example of Xbox's pursuit of award-winning games. South of Midnight today won a Peabody Award, which I think is a validation of the storytelling capability of games these days. Let me say this: I did not finish it, but from what I played of South of Midnight, it actually is a very enjoyable game with a great story. And I need to go back and finish it because I really enjoyed the part that I played. Anyway, and that's right on the heels of them winning a BAFTA for new IP a couple of Fridays ago. And that is our goal, right? I mean, we run a portfolio, and our portfolio includes some of the biggest franchises on the planet, Call of Duty and Minecraft. But we're also dedicated to places where new intellectual property can come to life and where these stories can be told. In our studios like Compulsion and Double Fine that got some nominations for Keeper. Xbox did not respond to Kotaku's request for a comment. So these three studios that you praised, these are the three that you're shutting down. The Xbox Game Showcase, Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory made Heavenly Sword for the PlayStation 3, and I got my PlayStation 3 at launch. I've famously told this story here. I slept on the floor of the garden department at Walmart in Warrenton, Missouri to get my PlayStation 3. Cool. I'm looking for new games to play, and I walk into Walmart. I always go to the game section or the electronic section anyway, because I look at vinyl records and stuff like that, also gaming. They had this game on the monitor where this chick is going crazy with these blades. It was Heavenly Sword. I was like, this is fucking sick. Immediately walked up to the counter. Hey, I need that game. Took it home, played it, fucking loved it. Ninja Theory is the studio that did that game. They then did Hellblade Senua, or I don't remember which one. The first Hellblade game was on the PlayStation 4. Now, obviously, Ninja Theory and Sony had a pretty good relationship considering they had done a game for the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. But Sony never thought to acquire them. Whatever. Microsoft acquired them. When they gave Phil that blank check and he went on that spending spree and bought, I think, 10 studios a few years back, right? Ninja Theory was one of those studios. And everybody's like, oh, now Xbox fans are like, now we got a PlayStation game. We can put out Heavenly Sword. There's nothing you can do about it. False. The Heavenly Sword IP is owned by Sony, if I'm not mistaken. And just so I don't put my foot in my fucking mouth, let's see. Who owns the Heavenly Sword IP? Look at that. Top search. The Heavenly Sword intellectual property is owned by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Although the game was originally created by the development studio Ninja Theory, they had to sign away the IP and technology rights to Sony to secure the funding that saved their studio from bankruptcy. Look at that. Because Microsoft acquired Ninja Theory in 2018, the studio is now an Xbox first-party developer, but Sony retains full ownership of the Heavenly Sword rights. Well, here we are. Now, they have told Ninja Theory after, and I'm going to get to this in a second because everybody's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're lying. You're lying. I'm sending this stuff to people that are like, this is bullshit. I can't believe you fell for this. It's not bullshit. It's real, you guys. So at the Xbox Game Showcase, Ninja Theory, surprise, surprise. And it really was a surprise because Hellblade 2 just came out like last year. They've already spun the block and come back with another game. It's not titled Hellblade, it's simply titled Senua. But it's the third game in the series, unless it's a prequel. We don't know. So we're all watching this like, oh, Ninja Theory is not bullshitting. Let's fucking go. Come to find out, Compulsion, NX, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory. Everybody's like, they just showed off a game. Why the fuck are they being closed? So, from what I'm being told by people in the know, the reason they let them show that trailer, apparently they already knew that this was going to happen. So all three of these studios are in negotiations trying to either get spun off and acquired by somebody else, or they need funding to go fully independent. The thing that kept these studios open is the check that Microsoft sent to them. I don't know if it's quarterly, I don't know if it's monthly, I don't know. They were an Xbox first party studio, so Microsoft is footing the bill for all of these studios, all of them, under the Xbox Game Studio banner. Interestingly enough, Bethesda had some sort of deal where they're not technically part of Xbox Game Studio. It's essentially the same deal that Bungie got with Sony when they got acquired after Sony tried to go tit for tat after Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard King. The deal is basic as long as they hit certain sales metrics, basically, they remain separate from Xbox Game Studios and PlayStation Studios. However, if they fail to meet those metrics, they can be wholly acquired and then become a part of for Bungie, PlayStation Studios, for Bethesda, Xbox Game Studios. Activision Blizzard King and Bethesda technically sit alone. They're listed if you go to the games page and all the studios page, it'll have all the Xbox first party studios, then Bethesda and Activision Blizzard King are listed separately. Um, so everybody's like, well, why the fuck would they let them show that game if they were going to shut them down? You guys, you got to pay attention. The point of them showing that game was to apparently drum up interest from suitable possible developers. So somebody could be sitting at home like, oh, this looks fucking cool. And then a week later, Microsoft's like, if you're interested, we'd be willing to part with that studio for the right price. And if we don't find a buyer, then they're just going to be closed down. Well, what do you do with this fucking game? Aside from that, all of these people who are going to lose their jobs if these studios are not spun out into another investor, I don't know if any of them actually have the funding to go fully independent. PlayStation closed Bluepoint, and a lot of us pitched a bitch. People are online calling out Xbox, and people are like, well, what about PlayStation? What about PlayStation? If that's your only answer to this, let me tell you something. There's a lot of things that you need to go back and gut check. Microsoft closed Turn 10, who did Forza Motorsport. Actually, they didn't. They basically cut half of their studio. Turn 10, Forza Horizon was the spinoff of Forza Motorsport because Forza Motorsport, like Gran Turismo, is a serious for serious drivers. It is an absolute simulation, real driving. That's why Gran Turismo is called the real driving simulator, right? It's not fun racing. It's just not. Forza Horizon was spun off to be the fun racing, game. And Forza Horizon has usurped Forza Motorsport. And Microsoft said, well, Horizon's more important at this point. So turn 10, slice you in half. You guys are now going to support Forza Motorsport. You're going to support Playground Studios and Forza Motorsport. How the fuck did we get here? And every time you say something, Team Green is like, well, what about PlayStation? They've closed just as many studios. Yeah, they're fucking wrong too. And they also did not have a great E3 show. Microsoft had a great fucking show. And here we are 2 weeks later having this conversation. And not even 2 weeks, it's 10 days because the show was on the 7th and I'm recording this on the 17th. 10 fucking days. And the story broke like 2 days ago. I record on Wednesdays because I have other obligations to record on Thursdays and whatnot. So not even a full 2 weeks. Not even a full fucking 2 weeks. Nobody thinks there's anything wrong with this. They fundamentally have a problem. They shadow dropped High Five Rush. No promotion. Shadow dropped it and that game fucking killed. Then that was one of the, it's only going to be 4 games that they sent to PlayStation in 2024. Remember? Remember when Phil was like, it's only 4 games? We're just going to start with 4 games. And then it became, there is no red line, there is no hard line, any game can go. And then Asher Sharma comes in and somebody's like, hey, we need, tweets her, we need exclusives back. She's like, heard you. And that y'all let them bullshit y'all through that showcase. And I'm not gonna lie, they kind of got me too. The PlayStation 5 version of Gears of War E-Day 100% exists. Keep telling yourself it doesn't. That build is on a hard drive somewhere. They have it. If shit gets bad enough, that whole this will never be anywhere but Xbox, that shit is gonna go bye-bye out the window. They will port that fucking game to PlayStation as quickly as they possibly can. Not even port because the port is done. They'll have to go through and fix bugs and stuff like that, maybe. There was a Halo campaign evolved trailer for the state of play, and Microsoft pulled it at the last minute. Now you find yourself in this position. Now you find yourself in this position. You showed all those games. 2 of them will be exclusive to the Xbox console: Gears of War E-Day, Clockwork Revolution. Do you think those 2 games are going to sell more Xbox consoles? And you said you can't keep up with the demand to produce Xbox consoles. You cannot. I repeat, cannot, for the millionth gajillionth fucking time on this goddamn show. You cannot condition your ecosystem to not buy games and then say, we got to close these studios. Why? Because people aren't buying games. They tried to use the revenue from Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard King to offset the losses they were taking from these other studios. I don't have a problem with Psychonauts. It's just not a game for me. Double Fine can do whatever they want. There's a lot of people who love Psychonauts. It didn't sell. But at the same time, none of the games sold. And do you know why? Because you put them in a fucking subscription service and gave them to people for a nominal fee of $20 per fucking month. Why would they pay $70 the full price of the game when you're going to give it to them in a fucking subscription service? When I tell people that I still go to the iTunes store and buy albums, when I tell people that I go to the Apple TV store and buy films, they're like, why don't you just play it on Apple Music? Why don't you play it on Spotify? Why don't you watch it on Netflix? Because as a creator, I believe that people should be fully compensated for their fucking work. The rest of you are idiots. And I hate that I have to come on my fucking platform and preach to you fucking goobers. Game Pass was never going to be sustainable. It is not possible. You cannot. How the fuck you gonna teach? You can't teach wealth with free shit. Where the fuck is the knowledge? Where's the knowledge? You can't literally be this dumb. And then I found out a lot of you really are this fucking dumb, which pains me. And that's why I get mad when y'all go to fucking Chat GPT. Do me a fucking favor. Go to your local library, sign up for a library card. Go back. They have these shelves and they have all these books on them. I want you to take a book off the shelf. You take it to the counter and you check it out. And then you mysteriously open the fucking book and read it because guess what? There is information on the inside of it. Y'all cannot tell me y'all did not see this coming. They wanted Game Pass to be at 100 million fucking subscribers, and they barely hit 30. They gave the Xbox, Microsoft gave Xbox a 30% profit margin that they had to reach. They're at like 3% or something like that. It's a pretty wide fucking gap. Am I not right? Right? Keep up. They thought we will keep Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork Revolution exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. And that'll sell consoles. But we're still going to put them in Game Pass. If I'm an Xbox only player, and I've talked to some of them and I know some of them, and I've been in all you have to do is go back and look at these previous showcases. And the best thing to do, especially when you watch the Xbox showcase, make sure the chat is open. And every single time they will show you and tell you exactly who they are. I've literally seen them show games and they'll be like, "Oh, this looks good," but if it ain't in Game Pass, I ain't playing it. They begged and begged and begged for Final Fantasy VII Remake series, and people were like, "Why is it not in Game Pass?" What? Square Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sold like 3 million copies the first week on the PlayStation 5. I pre-ordered mine, so I mean, mine counts for the first week sales, but I don't fucking know. Um, they sold 3 million copies the first week on the PlayStation 5, and they told Sony that wasn't good enough. So the third version of the third part of the remake is it we saw it at Summer Game Fest. The third part of the remake is going to all platforms on the same day. So let's see how many units they have sold. How much did Final Fantasy VII Remake sell on Xbox? Let's just find out. No, how many units? Let's see. Square Enix has not disclosed exact specific sales numbers for the that game has been on Xbox for a while. On PlayStation, it's sold, let's see. So there's a Reddit thread about this. This should be very, very interesting. Um, so remake 3.5 million units sold in 3 days, 7 million total. Final Fantasy 16, 3 million in its first week, 3.5 million total. Um, so we don't have the numbers, but I guarantee you it did not sell that much. It did not. It just did not. Oh boy, reset era. Let's see what they have to say about this. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Integrate have sold 8.7 million units as of March of 2025, according to Eurogamer. With the Switch 2 and Xbox ports, I won't be surprised if it's between 9 to 9.5 million units at the time. So Remake and Integrate on PC and PlayStation 4 slash and PlayStation 5 moved 8.7 million. Hmm. Do y'all really think they sold that many units on Xbox when people literally will say, if it ain't in Game Pass, I ain't paying for it? Don't be dumb. Just please don't be dumb. My biggest pet peeve in life is when people insult my intelligence. My second biggest pet peeve is when y'all refuse to just do the fucking work. Just do a modicum, just a fucking small, tiny modicum of research, and you would find out. There is a reason that Microsoft literally said Xbox of June will look vastly different from Xbox of July. That's how many people are going to be laid off. When all y'all sat around and prayed for them, for the FTC and all these other regulatory boards around the world to approve the Activision Blizzard King acquisition, when they sat up there and lied to you, it was about Call of Duty the whole time, y'all. Don't let them. Well, we want mobile games. Dog, my mother plays Candy Crush, or at least she did. I don't know if she still does. I don't know. My mother is 65 years old. She is not Microsoft's target audience. I am. Do you know why? Because I have a Series X, a Series S. I still got my Project Scorpio Xbox One X. I still have my PlayStation 4 Pro. I've got a PlayStation 5, a PlayStation 5 Pro, Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo Switch 2, a gaming PC, all the fucking Nintendo mini consoles, the PlayStation mini console, the Sega mini console. I am a gamer. I'm their target audience. They don't give a fuck about my mother playing Candy Crush. Don't be stupid. Just don't. And I keep saying that, but y'all are gonna find a way to be stupid anyway. And then everybody's like, "Why do you have that look on your face, Derek?" And it's like, because every day I'm perturbed by you fucking idiots that I have to share space with God, on God's green earth with. Make me sick. I cannot stress that enough. But anyway, anywho's back to this. Um, so now when Microsoft had no studios, Compulsion and Exile, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, these are the studios they went out and bought to get Microsoft over the hump, to strengthen Game Pass. And they made them think that everything was going to be a okay, right? We just need stuff for Game Pass. When some of these studios were acquired, the devs at these studios were worried. And do you want to know why? When they found out they were essentially going to be making games for Game Pass, they figured out how much money was going out the window. Here's the thing I'm going to, share with you guys, right? So, game developers, like recording artists and actors, et cetera, some of them have, well, there's sales metrics for anything that is, a viable product. There's a sales metric for my iPhone, a sales metric for my AirPods. Um, I would grab one of my hockey sticks. I don't know what the fucking Sherwood sales metric is. It doesn't matter. If you hit certain sales metrics, you will get bonuses. If you make music for a living and the label pays for your recording costs, the promotion of your album, all this stuff, once your album comes out, you are then in the recouping phase. You don't see a dime from your project until all that money has been recouped. I'd have to imagine there is something similar within the gaming space. And I'm glad I brought this up because that just made me think about something else. So, if Ninja Theory puts out Hellblade 2, and this was highly touted because a lot of people loved the first Hellblade on PlayStation, and then it came to Xbox, this, that, and the third. Let's say Ninja Theory needs to sell 7 million copies of Hellblade 2. And if they do, everybody at the studio gets like a $2,000 bonus or something like that. Guess who's not going to get that bonus? Everybody at Ninja Theory. And do you want to know why? Because Microsoft is putting the game in Game Pass. Why would I buy it if I can play it for a nominal subscription fee? Duh. There were many studios who were acquired by Microsoft who felt this way. There were some Bethesda studios that felt this way when Microsoft acquired them. I would have to imagine there's somebody at Activision Blizzard King who feels this way. Why do you think Toys for Bob wanted out from under Activision and Microsoft after the acquisition? And Toys for Bob just showed off a new Spyro game. Everybody loves Spyro, but they know they can't make any money off of that fucking game. Now, I don't remember if the new Spyro is going to be in Game Pass. Let's see. Mm, oh my God. The newly announced mainline game Spyro Realm Beyond will be available on Xbox Game Pass on day one. Highly anticipated sequel, officially revealed by developer Toys for Bob in collaboration with Activision, marks the franchise's first original installment in nearly 20 years. The game will feature brand new full light flight mechanics as Spyro defends a strange new realm from an invading force. Shout out to Spyro. Um, they're not part of Activision, which means they're also not part of Microsoft anymore. The one thing I will tell you is even third-party developers who are not part of the Microsoft ecosystem, they will put their games into Game Pass. They get cut a check for that. They get cut a check. If it's a multi-platform game, meaning a game that is on Xbox as well as PlayStation and possibly Nintendo as well, they can still sell units on the other two consoles and on the Steam store. If it's in Game Pass because they took a check from Microsoft, the sales aren't going to be great over there. They're just not. So the point that I thought of when having this conversation was the fact that we found out that the budget for Gears of War E-Day is $400 million. So let's just see. If Gears of War E-Day budget is 400 million, how many copies must they sell to break even? It's oh boy, boy, boy. So to break even on a $400 million development budget, Gears of War E-Day will need to sell between 5.7 and 8 million copies at the standard $70 price point because development budgets don't account for marketing costs, storefront cuts, Steam's 30% cut, or day one inclusion on Xbox Game Pass. Industry analysts calculate the break even math as follows. Gross revenue required when factoring in publisher platform cuts, a game generally needs to generate revenue well beyond its development costs to break even. Estimated sales needed. Selling roughly 5.7 million copies at full price yields roughly $400 million in gross revenue. That's gross. You never take home gross, guys. Never take home gross. But factoring in retailer cuts, closer to 7 million to 8 million copies are necessary to actually cover all costs. Historical context, achieving 7 million plus sales is a massive hurdle. For context, the highest selling title in the Gears of War franchise is Gears of War 2, which peaked at 6.75 million units. That was on the Xbox 360, and Game Pass did not exist at that time. So you had to buy the game, and that's when Gears was at its all-time peak. So you've got to chop the head off a lot of shit. There is a lot of overhead at Microsoft. Tango did Hi-Fi Rush and it did great. It won awards, and they said, we can't do this anymore. They cut Tango loose. Now, Tango was acquired by somebody else. I can't remember who it was. I think Microsoft still owns the Hi-Fi Rush IP. I'd have to double check. You're trying to spin out Compulsion Games, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory. I think Ninja Theory could get picked up. I worry more about Compulsion and Double Fine. I just don't. That Kiln game was a bad idea. Why they greenlit that, I will never know. I will never fucking know. I don't know anybody that wants to play a video game about making pottery. That just doesn't make any sense. That game should never made it past the conceptual phase. Tell me I'm wrong, please. Look me right here in my eyes, in my brown eyes, my 44-year-old brown eyes, and you tell me that that game should have made it past conception. There's no way you can sit here and tell yourself that. That is a bad idea for a video game. But they greenlit it. They canceled Everwild, Scalebound, and a bunch of other games. The Perfect Dark reboot got canceled. Now, Kiln, the development costs on Kiln had to be pretty cheap, comparatively. So I can see why they would greenlight it. But nobody wants to make pottery in a video game. It just doesn't make any sense. So I say all that to say this. Our good friend Sean Layden, who was once head of Worldwide Studios, SIE Worldwide Studios, which is now called PlayStation Studios, he had some comments about this, and of course, this got the Xbox all in a rant. Former PlayStation boss says Xbox shows a basic misunderstanding of the games industry amid leadership changes, mixed messaging, and reports of studio closures. Sean Layden says he's really not a hater. I don't think you're a hater, Sean. I also wish that you would be running PlayStation Studios again. Herman Holst is running PlayStation Studios into the fucking ground. It's not as dire a situation as Xbox, but it's pretty fucking bad. They closed Bluepoint, which is the master of making remasters of games. I just don't fucking understand it. They tried to get Bluepoint wanted to make a game, so they pitched a live service God of War game because they knew Jim Ryan wanted live service games and they knew they would get it greenlit. Former PlayStation boss Sean Layden, Jesus fucking Christ, the pop-ups, man. Anyway, former PlayStation boss Sean Layden says that Xbox's recent moves imply that those involved lacked an understanding of how the game industry works. Well, that's very funny. I don't want to shit on this young lady, but Asha Sharma used to work. Now, she wasn't door dashing, or it was either DoorDash or Uber Eats. She was in a very high position at either DoorDash or Uber Eats. I don't remember which one, but it was one of those two. She then worked for Core AI, and then somehow from that point got to be the head of Xbox. She doesn't have any knowledge of the gaming industry. When Sarah Bond got appointed, everybody's like, why? Sarah Bond came from T-Mobile, where they were also pushing basically a subscription on cell phones. Just like when AT&T did the Next plan, you're leasing the phone. Essentially, Game Pass, you're not leasing the game. I mean, I guess you are. You can play it as long as you pay your Game Pass membership. So it's that kind of made sense. This made no sense. Asha Sharma's not a gamer. The crazy thing was they created an Xbox gaming account for her, and they had somebody go on there and play video games to give her a gamer score to try to make her look like she actually belonged to the gaming community. I was born at night, but not last night. I didn't believe that from day one, and then she's finally like, "Yeah, I don't play games." Thank you, I knew that. You didn't fucking have to tell me. Anyway, to give Xbox credit through the 2020s has been a perfect example of how to be entirely inconsistent. From deciding to become a multi-platform publisher to changing its mind with the likes of Gears of War E-Day, only for rumors to emerge that actually it might change its mind again, and that it was nothing more than a way to advertise an increasingly short-changed Xbox fan base. And sure, Xbox CSO Matthew Ball denies this, but forgive me if I'm not taking it into face value from a publisher that announced a new Senua game just over a week before reports emerged that Microsoft was apparently planning to close its developer, Ninja Theory. All of this to say, there's definitely a feeling coming out of Xbox that there's a bit of identity crisis going on. And when game console Tag Kelly pointed out some of these recent inconsistencies via Respawn First, the former chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios and former president and CEO of the American branch, Sean Layden, commented on Xbox's recent moves. Quote, at the risk of sounding like a hater, which I'm really not, the moves invent a basic misunderstanding of how the interactive entertainment world moves. He writes, unfortunately, it's hard to argue with Layton's perspective as a string of seemingly random decisions out of Xbox, as well as things like leadership changes and mixed messaging, have inspired more confusion than hope for the console maker and publisher. Even as someone who hasn't exactly been on Team Xbox since the 360, I mean, why would I be when I can play all of its games on PC and most on PS5? A healthy Xbox is better for the industry overall. But a company that has a rounds of layoffs and studio closures seemingly as often as it releases games can't really be called healthy, can it? No, they cannot. When they begged the regulatory boards to approve the deal, they told them how much they needed this would help their business. They said that there would be no changes to the pricing in Game Pass. They said that there would be very limited layoffs. They've laid off people consistently every year since the acquisition. Game price went up twice. Game Pass went up twice in price in 1 year. Now, Asher Sharma dropped it $8 down from $30 a month, which equated to $360 a year, if you want that math, which is actually more than the Xbox Series S launched at in 2020, if you also want that math. Now it's down $8, it's $22 a month. Big deal. Sean Layden couldn't be more fucking right if he tried. They're a tech company. They're a software company. And for whatever reason, they decided, well, we saw Sony do it. We saw Sega fail, and I think we can be better at it. Now, the thing about Sega is, read the book, The Console Wars. They just did not believe. Tom Kalinske was a genius. Tom Kalinske, when Barbie fell on hard times in the 80s, Tom Kalinske flipped that and he re energized the Barbie line for Mattel. And then Japan sent somebody all the way over. He wasn't at his home. He was on vacation. I think he was in Hawaii with his family. And he's laying on the bench, and an executive from Sega shows up in a full three-piece suit and stands over him and convinces him to come to Japan, where they showed him the Sega Genesis. He told them to fix what you guys have going on. You don't have market share. We've got to gain market share. We need something that looks cooler than Mario. That's where you got Sonic the Hedgehog. And then when it came time to put out Sonic the Hedgehog, he said, this is what I want to do. I want to give it away as a pack-in title for the Sega Genesis. And they all looked at him like he had four fucking heads. It worked. Nobody was able to gain market share till Sega did. Tom Kalinske was a genius. The problem is Sega of Japan called all the shots, and Tom was in charge of Sega of America. And it just wasn't going to work out. He pitched them on the technology, the silicone technology, for their next generation console at the time, and they didn't want to do it. So he called back the company whose technology they were going to use, and he gave them the number to Nintendo, and that technology turned into the Nintendo 64. He figured, why should I fight this fucking battle if they're not willing to fight with me? And I get it, because I deal with that every day. I will fight for you any day of the week, but you got to be willing to fucking fight with me. Just saying. Eventually, after the Dreamcast, Sega got out of the hardware business and they went strictly software. Never thought we'd see Sonic the Hedgehog end up on a Nintendo console, but it happened. When Asher Sharma took over, a lot of people said a lot of things. There was one person in particular who used to work for Xbox who said, she's from Core AI. They're about to sunset Xbox hardware. And everybody's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And every day we find out more. She says in an interview with, I think it was Bloomberg, well, $1,000 console isn't really going to work for anybody in these trying financial times. And I'm glad she understands that because she's right. If you're still banking on Project Helix being everything that they told you it was going to be, cancel Christmas. Steam is putting out the Steam machine this month and they haven't even given people a price. But I'm going to tell you the Steam Deck price went up to $950. So you can only imagine what a console version of that would cost. I digress. They can't sell $1,000 box, even if it has all your other third party PC libraries. Why did Sony pull their games from their first party Spider Man and Wires and Wolverine and Sorrow's going to be on PC? Because Microsoft was touting a box that would play your Steam library. And if PlayStation publishes their game on Steam, then somebody who hates PlayStation but wants to play Spider Man, wants to play Wolverine, et cetera, I've got my shiny new Xbox. And it has a Steam library. And I bought your PlayStation games. And I don't have to buy your fucking PlayStation console. I can play your games right here, right now. When we heard that that was Microsoft's plan, I said on here vehemently, if I'm Sony, I'm doing anything I fucking can to stop this. You're not about to boot up my direct competition's box and play my intellectual property. Everybody said I was a hater. Goddamn right. I'm not making a picture of Kool-Aid for you to put in your refrigerator. You're out of your fucking mind. That's not how it works. You will not be in business very long if you follow that. Then Steam announces the Steam machine. Everybody's like, wait, hold the fuck up. What is going on here? When they started talking about Project Helix more and more, well, it's going to be a premium product at a premium price. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The Xbox Series S launched at 300. The Series X launched at 500. The price of those have gone up. PlayStation 5 digital launched at 400. Physical launched at 500. Both of those have gone up. PlayStation 5 Pro launched at $750. It's now actually 700. I think it's like 8 something now, closer to 9 when you include tax. Clearly that went up as well. So if the current generation consoles are all hovering around $600 or more on the higher end versions of them, and you're calling this a premium product, what is this next generation of Xbox going to launch at? Well, it's a premium product at a premium price. So you're telling me $1,000 to $1,200. And there's people like, I'm going to do it. Go right ahead, Gary. Go right the fuck ahead, Gary. I'm not doing that. I spent $2,000 building my PC. I didn't drop that $2,000 all at one time. I bought parts over time. You go ahead, Gary. You do that. Now Ash is like, well, not exactly. And maybe, maybe Xbox is without a console. Wow. 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 Sounds like you're going full third party and getting rid of hardware to invest in software. And at this point, it's not a bad idea. Why? Because you have a ton of fucking studios and then you acquired 2 other publishers. Go fucking figure, right? So Jason Schreier, let me tell you something. I've read 2 of Jason Schreier's books. When people start talking, 2 people in particular, Nate the Hate, who called Star Fox and Ocarina of Time remake, and Jason Schreier, when they talk, I listen. When they say something, you can pretty much take it to the bank. Jason Schreier talked about this. He said things are going to be bad while describing the current video game industry situation at Microsoft as a brutal bloodbath. We have seen nothing yet. Um, so yeah, things are going to get bad. And then at DICE this year, I was actually talking to someone in the management at Xbox Studio. Was like, He talked about how much he trusted in Phil Spencer, this, that, and the third. This was at Dice. A week later, I think it's like a week later, Phil Spencer stepped down as the head of Xbox. And then Sarah Bond, remember, there was a post on Sarah Bond's LinkedIn page earlier that day. That's how we found out that she wasn't running her own LinkedIn page. Big surprise, right? The post was scheduled to go up. They relieved her of her duties. The thing with Phil is apparently they gave him the option to walk out of his own volition or he would be fired. Phil chose to walk out of his own volition so it could look like he resigned instead of got fired. But they wanted him gone. They blamed the "this is an Xbox" on Sarah Bond, when in all actuality, Play Anywhere had existed for quite some time. Sarah Bond arrived during the Xbox Series X and S generation. Xbox Play Anywhere arrived during the Xbox One generation. When they wanted to put 4 games on PlayStation 5 in February of 2024, they sent a black woman during Black History Month to make that announcement. Send the black lady out there to take the darts. They blamed "this is an Xbox" on Sarah Bond. The idea already existed. She may have cultivated it into everything as an Xbox, but the idea was there. Because before Sarah Bond came over there, if you buy a Samsung television, guess what? I just happen to have a Samsung television to my right. I have my Xbox hooked up to it. I don't need to. I can sync a controller and just play my games over the cloud. And they told people this before Sarah Bond ever stepped on the campus in Redmond, Washington. Is it in It's in Washington. I don't know if it's Redmond. Doesn't fucking matter. And guess what? It happened again in February during Black History Month. Send the black girl out there to take the darts. Shar explains the Xbox reset major layoffs expected after June 30th, 2026. Again, Xbox in June will look vastly different from Xbox in July. Potential studio closures, negotiations for places like Compulsion, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory, which we've talked about ad nauseum today, traces it back to the Xbox One launch failures. Phil Spencer's Game Pass strategy, the Activision Blizzard acquisition costs, they're still paying for that. You gave this man a blank check and he spent $80 billion on 2 publishers. Not to mention the blank check you gave him half a decade or so before that, where he bought these same studios that you guys are now closing now. I would love for somebody to put a fucking microphone in front of Phil Spencer and have him answer for this shit. Because this started under his era. Shifting priorities towards profitability under the new CEO, Asher Sharma, and how studios are now being punished for following orders from earlier directives. Yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better over at Xbox, you guys. That is the long and short of it. It is going to get worse before it fucking gets better. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. Um, Again, Xbox in June is going to look vastly different than Xbox in July. Point blank, period. That's all there is to say about it. Project Helix, if it comes out, I think the third party PC studios, I don't think that's going to be part of it. Because if I know anything about Gabe Newell, who is the head of Valve, which Steam is a subsidiary of that, he is an absolute fucking asshole. And even though he does business with Microsoft, he doesn't want his store on their fucking PC console hybrid. Also, Microsoft kind of fucked themselves. You put your first party exclusives in Game Pass day one, which I've talked about. Nobody's going to buy it because it's there for fucking, a subscription fee. And then you say, well, on PC as well. That PC meant Steam. Why you didn't create your own PC launcher and PC store is fucking beyond me. It's just beyond me. Satya Nadella does not give a fuck about Xbox. I think he's made that pretty fucking clear. And he came out and said, like, yeah, we spent a bunch of money. We expect to see a return on our investment. The ROI just ain't ROI at this point, you guys. And it hasn't been for quite some time. So if you brought me back to this very same spot to have this conversation a year from now and you ask me what Xbox looks like June 17th of 2027, a fraction of what it used to be. A fraction of what it used to be. I'm not saying it's over. but god damn it, I can see the exit. And it's not much better at PlayStation. I'm not cutting them any slack. Nintendo, people love the Switch too, but where's your 3D Mario? Um, there like a Nintendo console should never launch without a brand new Mario or Zelda title. Doesn't make any sense. So nobody's doing great at the moment, and the RAM shortage isn't helping at all. But this is absolutely fucking insane. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Anyway, that's going to do it for yours truly. I'm going to end this like I end everything else. Of course, believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, and that is my time. Y'all have a good one. See you around. Peace.